Alright, so we're going to be doing this tune-up today on our Kawasaki FR651V 21.5 horsepower 4-stroke overhead valve V-twin air-cooled engine. It's on my Husqvarna Z 248F zero-turn mower. Now I lied to you a little bit, and I'm sorry about that. But for these NGK spark plugs that come with this kit, it requires a larger spark plug socket than I've got, so I'm going to have to do this after the fact. But for the website that I found, it does recommend a 0.7 to 0.8 millimeter spark plug gap. I use Freedom units around here, so that's going to be about a 27 thousandths to 31 thousandths spark plug gap. You want to use your spark plug key, you know, whatever you've got. I've got this round one. And of course you just put that in there, and then you just you move it around there and adjust that. And right out of the box, we are right at correct adjustment. So when I get that socket, I'm going to go ahead and do the spark plugs. I'll do that another day. Another thing that you want to do, like I was telling you, is put anti-seize on the threads, and then you want to put some dielectric grease in the boot. So that's one thing to do on that. So we won't be doing that on this video. But in this kit, it comes with an air filter, which we will be doing, the oil filter, fuel filter, and then it's recommended that if you're going to be changing the oil filter, which if you're going to be draining the oil, you might as well change the oil filter. It calls for 2.1 liters of oil. It comes with 2 quarts. So 2.1 liters is about 1.89 quarts. So we're going to have just enough out of this kit to go ahead and do this oil change. So let's get right into it. I'm about as disappointed in myself as I've ever been putting a mower up. For the season, this thing looks like garbage. Winter hit us like a dang sledgehammer this past season, and I put stable in there in the fuel lines, and it looks like that's about all I did. And before I pull this thing in the garage, I'm going to do a little bit of work on it. I'm going to blow the deck off with an air blower, and then I'm going to pressure wash underneath the deck. Like I told y'all in that previous video, I'm going to go ahead and get these blades swapped out. These are the Husqvarna brand blades. They're high lift blades, really good stuff. So I'm going to get these changed out before we pull it in. While it's go ahead and it's lifted, I got my safety glasses. I've got some wheel chocks, pieces of wood, and then I've got my jack. So we're going to go ahead and get after this. to start, I can be doing several things at once while this oil's draining. So right there is the oil drain tube, and it's got a plug on it, and it requires an 11/16 wrench. And then if you've got two 11/16 or an adjustable wrench, you can go ahead and put your wrench on that back side to hold that drain tube still, and then another wrench on that drain plug, and we're going to go ahead and loosen that and go ahead and get this oil draining into this. What I use is, I've got, you know, when you buy screws in bulk for other projects, these screw bins are really nice to use as drain pans when you're doing mower maintenance. So we're going to go ahead and get this oil draining now. So as this oil drain plug gets looser, yep, there we go. We're going to start seeing oil start to slowly drain. I like to loosen that dipstick so we can get a free flow of oil. It's going to take a while for this oil to drain, so that's why I mentioned that we can be doing other things while that oil's draining. So next, another thing that came in that kit is the air filter. So we're going to go ahead and get that air filter out and change it while that oil's draining. Alright, so the oil's draining right now. So we're going to lift up the oil or the air filter housing. It's got a thumb tensioner right here. We'll just loosen that up. And then this is our air filter. We'll just pop that off. You can see that it was definitely ready to be changed. So get all this debris out of here. Open the box up. Oh wow, I like this one. So this new air filter comes with a particle sock, whereas that other one that I purchased previously didn't. I'll show you the difference here in a second. So it's got a particle sock. It's the same filter, you can see, but we got a particle sock around this one. I like that one a lot better. So we'll just kind of pull back on that hose a little bit, slide that in, get it aligned real good, and then just tighten this thumb knob. It doesn't have to be super tight, it's just got to seal that off and close that. Next, we'll move on to the fuel filter. So you can see that fuel filter, the driver's seat is right here. It's tucked in right behind that driver's seat. And one thing I want to point out is, see if I can get, yep, right here on that fuel filter, there's directional arrows. So you always want that arrow pointing in the direction of the engine. So we're going to mount that right like this. So we want this white portion of that fuel filter heading towards the engine, because that's the direction of flow for that fuel. So I've got some needle nose here. We're going to take those butterfly clips off and loosen those, pull them back off that hose, and then we'll swap out this fuel filter. So you'll notice that seat just flips forward to get it out of your way, and that's what that fuel filter will look like after you get done. I think that those butterfly clips are about done as far as tension. I'm probably going to get some hose clamps and put those on there after the fact, so I can make sure that I don't have a fuel leak. So that's one upgrade I'm going to do. You can hear that oil is still draining I told you it'd take a little while. All right, so next, you can see that oil is draining right there. I'm gonna slide this pan back to where it's still catching that flow, but we're gonna go ahead and the oil filter is right there. So I'm gonna reach down and go ahead and try to do this one-handed. Yep. Loosen this up. Now that'll possibly start pouring oil as well. Yeah, it did. Let's make sure you can see that it's, now we're hitting in that pan. So we'll go ahead and take this oil filter off. Take that out. Now, I'm going to grab this other oil filter out of the box. It's come shipped with a plastic wrap on it, which I like. Now, the thing that you want to do, don't ever put these oil filters on dry like that. Get a little bit of dab of oil that's draining or off this other filter, just on your finger, and just kind of lightly, you know, glaze that new filter rubber, that gasket, with a little bit of used oil. That way we can make sure that it's going to seal good whenever we put it back on the block. So I'll go ahead and grab this and try to, you can see what I'm doing right now is I'm looking down in there to make sure that all of the block where this oil filter screws onto is clean, and it is. I know it's hard to see with that camera. I'll go ahead and put the new filter on. And you all saw that I didn't have to really give a whole lot of struggle loosening that other filter. It's because I don't over tighten these things. You take it till it stops and then give it another quarter turn, and that's all it takes. So we're still waiting on that oil to drain. Like I mentioned, those spark plugs, I need a socket, but you got a spark plug right here, and then another spark plug on this side right here, right there. You just take those boots off and then get your socket on the spark plug, loosen them, you know, take the plug out, the new plug, put that anti-seize on it, go ahead and hand screw it into that block, because if you strip that block out, you're in big time trouble. But go ahead and start it with your fingers and then put your socket on it. You don't have to over tighten it, just torque it down, and then put your dielectric grease in the rubber boot and then just push it until it seats, and that's all that's required to go ahead and change out the spark plugs. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this video until that oil stops draining. All right, we finally got that oil drained. It seemed like it took forever. Some of the things that I did while the oil was draining, I mean, and that's why I recommended that you guys, or you people, go ahead and, you know, do the things that you could while it was draining, because I knew it would take forever. I went ahead and replaced those butterfly clips. I had a couple little hose clamps that I threw on there that were in the toolbox. I just didn't have a good feeling about those butterfly clips sealing off whenever I put fuel pressure on them, so I went ahead and swapped that out. I topped off the fuel with new fuel, or I topped off the fuel tank with new fuel. I do have a hitch kit that I'm going to put on here after the fact. I don't have the bolts. The hitch kit didn't come with bolts, so I've got to get a couple 2-inch bolts to throw that hitch kit on there. Whenever grass season or grass sowing season happens, I'm going to buy an aerator and aerate the grass. So there'll be some videos on that. But anyways, we've got the oil drain. I'm going to go ahead and throw this plug back in there. it's got a little O-ring on there, so make sure that all that crap from the yard is cleaned off there. Start it with your fingers, don't start it with any tools. Make sure that it threads right. Be careful not to drop it in your oil pan, because you'll go fishing for that. That's a lot of fun. Doesn't have to be super tight. Get your wrench out and your whatever you're using to tighten that back up. Again, it doesn't have to be just god-awful soused down tight. There, it's met. Just give that a good snug. Got my funnel here. Just toss that in there. Got 2.1 liters of oil. It's 4-cycle engine oil, 10W40. And I don't hit this thing like a freight train. You just kind of want to wait for that plane to fly over, but just kind of ease it in there, because this thing's going to start bubbling and burping, and it could come back up that drain tube and lose some of this oil, because they just send just enough oil to fill this engine block, so you don't want to waste any of it. So pour it slow, because I can see that oil coming back up that filler tube. So just kind of ease it in there. I like to just let this filler, this funnel I've got, lets the can sit in there for a few seconds, just to make sure you get all that oil out of there. Now, quick reminder, these parts that I'm going to put in the comments, that's for this Kawasaki 21.5 horsepower FR651V engine. You order them for your engine and it's not the same engine, that's on you. That's not on me. I'm sorry, okay? Make sure that you look at the make and model of your engine before you go, you know, cowboy crazy and order a bunch of parts. So that's what works for my engine. Sorry if it doesn't work for your engine. The way that you do a tune-up, though, will be exactly the same way. You drain the oil, you fill the oil, or you drain the oil, you change the filter, then you fill the oil. Change the plugs, make sure that you got the right socket. Don't be an idiot like me and not be prepared. So, change the fuel filter. If something doesn't feel right about the clips, have some hose clamps on standby. Make sure that you put new gas in it at the start of the season. At the end of the season, like I told you, hey, here comes another plane. Aren't you so excited to hear it? At the end of the season, like I told you, I always put stable in there. And what that is, that's fuel stabilizer. To make sure that any fuel that's still left over in the tank is preserved, so you don't got any kind of crap in that fuel tank, and then you got a whole world of hurt on your hands. All right, let me grab this dipstick right quick. Another thing, some of you earth freaks are probably wondering about is, well, what's he gonna do with his oil? Well, I'm gonna put it in my fire pit and I'm gonna burn it. I'm kidding, I'm not gonna do that. Advanced Auto, O'Reilly, about any of those parts people will recycle your oil. So make sure you recycle your oil properly. What I'll do is I'll take that nail bin that I used as a drain pan, I'll put it in these bottles and I'll mark it used on that green lid, and I'll know what's used and what's good, and then I'll run it over there. I'm gonna go in the parts store every now and again and I'll take it and they'll recycle it for me. So just a little tip there, make sure you recycle your oil. All right, let me move this camera. We're gonna fire this baby up. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to fire it up. It's probably gonna burp and cuss a little bit because that fuel filter's new. I need to go ahead and hit it with some fuel and choke it off a little bit, and I bet that fire alarm's gonna go off and piss my wife off. So it's gonna be win-win for everybody. So if you like the video, like it, subscribe to the channel. We're gonna do a giveaway soon. Pretty soon it's gonna be grass seeding season, overseeding the grass, so we'll learn that together. I'm hoping to aerate the yard. It looks like crap right now. Anyways, we're gonna try to fire this up. We'll see you next time.